extreme stance. Of course, I you know, would support the celebration of my people at a designated time. Other people have celebrations of their culture and history. What's the matter with that?
So then what's your movie about?
I discovered somewhere along the line, this is an issue that I think it's not really about Black History Month. It's really about something deeper. I just wish I knew what that something deeper was.
I wake up to a new thought. The impact of any History Month can't be measured in an experiment. At least not one done by a dime store psychologist. And by dime store psychologist, I mean me. In order to understand what it means to have a Black History Month, I must look outside Black History Month. Way outside. There must be benefits to having a History Month.
For the honor of Virginia.
As those that don't have one fight to create it.
America has been dumbed down in history, which is one of the reasons why we're promoting Confederate History Month in Virginia.
In Lexington, Virginia, I visit the Sons of Confederate Veterans.
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come.
After the war, there was a major move to squash Confederate history. And the generations today want to see that history brought back to its prominence.
There are 10 billion Confederate flags. You're in a Confederate uniform.
Right.
And, you know, when I think of the Confederacy, you think of slavery.
Sure. Slavery is a dead issue. It was there. Does that make it right? No. I'll be the first one to tell you. I personally wouldn't want to be a slave, and I think that was wrong. But it was a different time, and that was the economic structure at that time.
People see my lapel pin, instantly they look at that flag and think, oh, this guy must be a racist. You know, he's probably some arm of the Ku Klux Klan. That's a soldier's flag. It has nothing to do with racism.
Dearest loved one, I find myself caught behind enemy lines. Very uncomfortable.
So, just so I'm clear, a young Black male like myself should not fear the rise of Confederate history.
Oh, no.
Or the rise of a Confederate History Month.
I can't see any reason why.
The push for a Confederate History Month makes me understand one thing more than all. History is about power. The power to control the story, even if for a brief period of time. And a History Month is a way to do that. In creating Confederate History Month, the story of slavery can become simply about economic structure and be easily forgotten. The Confederate flag is a relic of valiant soldiers and nothing more. And a rogue government that existed for a few years can somehow be confused with the South.
Called in the ministry in 1965, earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in theology.
With new light shed on my vision of History Months, I seek now to re-immerse myself in all things Black History Month. So I journey further into the South, to Atlanta, Georgia, to spend the last week of February in a so-called chocolate city.
Is Black History Month necessary?
Most definitely. Most definitely, because you coming from a predominantly white institution or you just coming from a regular public school, you don't learn anything about it until that month, and then they'll put all this emphasis on it, and then they'll just stop talking about it on February 28th.
There are so many influential figures that really changed the course of our nation, and that should be showcased the entire year. It is the sacrifice of these people that has allowed all of us some of the freedoms that we have today, and it's the foundation of our country, and that is the importance of telling everyone's story.
I don't care if nobody says it's tired, it's boring, it should move on, it should always be acknowledged.
I find Atlanta to be bursting with the celebration of Black history.
It was 10,000 people in Atlanta prior to the war. In 1867, it was 20,000. The difference was behind Sherman's army of 70,000, there was 4,000 freedmen. They were left in Atlanta, and that's why you have Albany area where Afro-Americans developed.
Where did the name Jim Crow come from?
A 19th century minstrel show.
Correct.
The Sankofa African American History Challenge is a relatively diverse group.
Who was the first African American to lead the Democratic National Committee?
Ron Brown.
Correct.
When we learn more about African American history, we learn more about the sense of place that we all share as it relates to the very dynamic and evolving, currently unfolding history of the United States and of African Americans within the United States. Ms. Collins, will you come back?
I'm gonna come back.
So what the students tell us is they don't get a lot of African American history in their schools.
I didn't even know half of these people existed until this competition. So I learned a lot.
Recently, there was a mother who was very upset because some material was being used in the classroom that framed slavery as people that were brought over to help pick cotton instead of talking about the horrors of slavery.
The one sentence that was in your daughter's textbook was what again?
Black people were brought from Africa and other continents to help pick cotton and other crops. The results of learning the way the book put our history into perspective caused her to feel very bad about herself and about her ancestors. And so we would literally sit with this book and read. It was about 68 pages. Read a page at a time. And every time we'd finish a page, I'd have a caveat. Now, I know they said this, but please remember, and that's difficult when you have someone or a child of that age, because when you have a textbook that's telling you something, that's what's right, not what mommy said.
If textbooks fall short, I wonder how Black history is experienced in Atlanta's public schools. So I head to see Joanna Maddox,
Is Rosa Parks.
one of Atlanta's premier storytellers.
I started out just going to my son's schools to help out. I had made up some stories, and the kids had started calling me a storyteller when I would walk down the halls and say, I know you, you're the storyteller. And I was like, okay, yes, I'm the storyteller. You know, they were calling me the storyteller before I considered myself a storyteller. And then when I was there during February, I didn't see very much going on.
I am so happy to be here with you today to share with you the story of Miss Harriet Tubman.
Some schools, because we have Black History Month, it's almost like it's mandatory. And I think once that's taken away, that we don't have to do anything now, then they won't.
And my mama pleaded with the master, oh, please, master, don't sell my child.
She says she snatched away from her mother at 6 years old, and little 6-year-olds thinking, I'm 6 years old. So now they're really seeing the struggle. They are seeing how hard it was for Harriet. Children need to know, this is your history. This is your history.
Sometimes I feel
Where textbooks fail, Black History Month fills a void.
sometimes.
So what does it mean to have a Black History Month? It means to be counted, to be recognized. It's time carved out where the stories of Black folks live. And in the telling of that story, there is the promise of existence. the promise of enduring survival. And for a people whose human worth and very right to exist has been questioned, this is an empowering action, even if it is the same four people. Beneath the cultural and social celebration, History Months are about something deeper. I just can't shake the notion that Woodson would have wanted more, that the stories of Africans in America deserve more than a month. Seeking answers about Woodson, I head over to Emory University, where his personal library and archive of his writings are held.
I'm seeking to understand Black History Month as it exists today, and I don't think I can do that without having a better understanding of Woodson, his works, what he read, what his motivations were.
When he was studying at Berea, when he was studying at Chicago and Harvard, what he found was there was no information about the stories that he heard about Black history, about slavery. Those stories had been excluded from the text that he was reading about American history.
He saw that the opportunities for telling what he understood to be a fair and honest and true perspective on the role of Blacks in American society, that would have to be researched, written, published, distributed by African Americans. And the Journal of Negro History, which began in 1916, became the most important scholarly journal for African American history and culture.
He was trying to educate not only peoples of African descent about themselves, but those that would dominate them and see them as less than.
Woodson was a giant, and the history he produced was not simply about facts, figures, or trivia. It was about introducing a world to stories that were either lost, hidden, or simply ignored.
There is a reason why he's called the father of Negro history.
It's out of this scholarship that Negro History Week is born.
I've read that Woodson hoped that one day his own creation, Negro History Week, Black History Month, would no longer be necessary, that it wouldn't exist. Is that true?
He would want this particular portion of American history to be absorbed by everyone. The win isn't in continuing to have it and continuing to develop programs. I think the win is when people acknowledge it as being significant, when people start to respond to the challenges that you've laid in front of them, to recognize the people who have been invisible.
Doing African American history is not, it's not as though I'm doing somebody else's history. This is my history also. It's this interaction of white and black over 400 years. This is who we are as a nation.
Here amongst Woodson and his body of work, it hits me. Having a History Month is a way to be recognized. To not need a History Month to accomplish this, that's a representation of true equality.
Charles Wesley.
Woodson recognized this, and now so do I. This is the something deeper I've been searching for. This journey isn't about Black History Month at all. It's about the nature of power and equality. It's a deeper problem of which History Months are a mere symptom. So what would it mean not to have a Black History Month? Not to need it? Is it just an idealistic dream, or is something possible? I meet a man in Philadelphia who might have an answer.
I am not an advocate of Black History Month. Week, month, 6 months, or year.
In 1967, Walt Palmer and others led a massive student walkout to protest the lack of ethnic studies inclusion in Philadelphia schools.
We picked 10 o'clock, November 17th, 1967. And at that time, the student government and the outside government and the gangs would walk out of every school in the city of Philadelphia. That was the largest student uprising in the history of America. It was an unbelievable day for them, a sense of real power and unity, and they started attacking them. the police commissioner,